Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode here at WILDMAN Lifts. I'm your host, WILDMAN. On today's episode, as you can see, I have my trusty bucket of dried rice, and I'm going to be doing some tendon repair that I showed in some of my previous videos. So all I'm going to do really is I'm going to stick my hand into the bucket, and I'm going to pull it out very, very slowly, and then I'm going to go back into the bucket and pull my hand out very, very slowly. And I'm going to continue to do this for 100 repetitions on each arm. And as you can imagine, this gets quite boring. So I thought, why not answer some questions that I've been receiving both from comments on my videos and from direct messages from Instagram and just from people who know me and saw that I started a YouTube channel, begin to ask questions about the fitness world. So I thought I would answer those questions and do a little Q&A as I'm doing my tendon repair tonight. So let's jump in. Let's get started. So the first question I'm going to answer is, what is the appropriate squat depth when doing squats? Now, that's a really, really good question. I did a previous video about steroids where I did the good, the bad, and the ugly of steroids. And I'm going to do the same exact format for squat depth because it's a very controversial subject, believe it or not, in the fitness industry. So why not just discuss it in an entire video? So stay tuned for that. But if I was to give you a generalized short answer, mainly just talking about the back squat, if you're a power lifter, there's actually a whole set of rules of what your squat depth has to be when you're in a competition. So I highly recommend that you read those rules if you're planning to do a powerlifting meet and you train to what those rule standards are. That way you'll get all 3 white lights and no reds, and your lift will count in competition. The next question I got is, what kind of stretches do I do before I work out? And can I do an entire video about stretching? Believe it or not, I don't stretch that much. Even when I was playing sports, I didn't stretch that much, and it wasn't really recommended that we stretch that much before we got into physical activity. What I do most of the time is working on priming the muscles before I work out really hard, and I also do a lot of mobility drills before I actually start my lifting sessions. Working on your mobility and priming your muscles before you're about to engage in heavy lifting or a hard physical activity is better than doing stretching when your muscles are cold. And I will do a whole separate video about that, about some of my favorite stretches that I do once I'm done working out. Once the muscles have been worked out and once they are pumped full of blood and stretched and a little bit more willing to stretch out versus when at the beginning of your workout when your muscles and your body is still rigid and cold, I can show some of the stretches that I do there. But basically, believe it or not, the answer to this question is, don't stretch that much before you're about to lift or before you're about to do some hard physical activity, because it's more important to prime your muscles than it is to stretch your muscles before engaging in such activities. Okay, so the third question has to do with some of the video content that I've been putting out about anabolic steroids. And so the question is, do I recommend people go on anabolic steroids, or was my video that I put out to deter people from going on anabolic steroids? Now, just because I personally have weighed the pros and cons of taking steroids and have decided for myself that I'm not going to take steroids, that's a decision that I made. What I wanted to do in those videos was to give viewers an idea of some of the risk versus reward ratio when deciding to take steroids. If you want to be an elite strength athlete, or you want to put on a tremendous amount of size and put on a lot of strength and be a big fish in a little pond at your local gym, steroids will get you there faster than any other drug. I did give some safer alternatives, such as whey protein, creatine, and BCAAs, and I did a whole entire video about that, which I'll put down in the description if you want to check that video out. Which those supplements will absolutely help you with your strength gains and your endurance and your conditioning, in conjunction with a healthy dietary plan and with a efficient workout schedule. So no, I wasn't trying to deter people from taking steroids, but a lot of people jump into steroids without knowing some of the health risks or some of the time-consuming management that it's going to take to make sure that all your levels don't spike or decrease dramatically. That can be life-threatening or have long-term health side effects. So if you haven't seen those videos that I've talked about steroids, go ahead and check out the description, and I'll leave the link there so that you can decide for yourself what you want to do. All right, that should do it. If you would like to see more videos or more content about certain subjects that you want to know more about, go ahead and leave me a comment. You can also DM me directly at WILDMAN Lifts on Instagram, and you can ask me questions about anything that you want, and I will try to push that content out to my viewers. I really appreciate everybody that has subscribed and views my videos on the daily. Until next time, thank you and have a good evening.